Hello and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a review of City of Ghosts by Victoria Schwab. I will start by saying that I love this book and it is my first 5-star read of the year, and I don't give 5 stars very often. So the book tells the story of a girl called Cassidy who lives with her parents in America, and when Cassidy was much younger she was involved in an almost fatal accident. I can't quite remember what happens, but she kind of moves to avoid a truck that's hurtling down the road, and she ends up falling over the edge of a bridge and into a frozen river. And then she is saved by a ghost called Jacob. And ever since that incident happened, she's had some kind of connection with the other world, like the land of the undead, which in this book is called the Veil. And to her it appears as like a curtain that she sees like in the corner of her eye, and then it kind of, well, at the beginning of the book she has to kind of grab the curtain and pull it back and then step into the veil. And her parents are very famous, well, not very famous, her parents are quite famous authors. They believe in, her dad believes more in the science of ghosts and hauntings and like, things that could be possible explanations for hauntings, whereas her mum firmly believes in ghosts and hauntings and the occult, and they've written a series of books called The Inspectors. And I thought in the book, I thought it was really clever that Victoria Schwab wrote it as inspectors, as in the word spectre, which is also another word for a ghost or a spirit. So I thought that was very clever. But yeah, they are famous authors of this book series, and they get approached by a film crew or like a broadcasting company who says that they want to make their books into a TV show. And the first location that they're going to be filming in is in Scotland in the UK, which is supposed to be one of the most haunted countries in the UK. So yeah, and then what follows is that they move to Scotland. They go and stay in this big old grand house called the Lane's End, and it's very like eerie, and the whole book really has a very eerie tension and a very eerie atmosphere, which I really enjoyed reading. Yes, and when they are in Scotland, Cassidy, as I said in the beginning of the book, the veil, she kind of has to like grab it and part it to go through, but because of the strong presence of ghosts and spirits in Scotland, because it's much stronger than it is in America, the veil, or the curtain of the veil, she doesn't have to reach for it. It kind of like wraps itself around her and pulls her in. And yeah, she's very interested in photography, and she has a camera, and every time she goes to the veil, she kind of sees how these people died, but she just goes there to take pictures, and then she comes back, and then when the pictures are developed, obviously there's not much to see. There's just like a black like background with some blurry grey bits or whatever. But she soon discovers, by meeting a ghost hunter called Lara Chowdhury, that is not why she can go into the veil. She has another purpose in the veil, and that is to help the spirits that are trapped in the veil move on. So I thought that was a very refreshing take on that whole idea. I've read another similar book, I forgot what it's called, oh maybe it is Anna Dressed in Blood, where the ghosts have come from the other world and into the world of the living, and then the main character in that book sends them back to the land of the dead by killing them. But this was a very refreshing take because, like I said, in this book they are already in the land of the dead. They are already in the veil, but Cassidy's job and Lara's job is to move them on, because they're basically stuck there, and they relive the way they died over and over and over again, until Lara, or indeed Cassidy, come along and move them on. And then eventually Cassidy realises that her job is to do what Lara does and send them on. And the way this happens is when they see their reflections in the veil, the ghosts, they basically see themselves how they died. So they'll be their own reflection as they are now, and then there's another reflection of the state they were in when they died, which I thought was very clever. And this kind of like, the sight of it does something to them, and they end up freezing in place and not moving. And then Cassidy is able to reach in to the spirits and take the life out of them, which is like in the form of, it's described in the book as like a ribbon, but it's kind of like a rope, and when it's pulled out of the spirits, they turn to ash and dust, and they're gone, they moved on. And because Cassidy is human and goes, well, ish, she's kind of alive. It's very difficult to determine whether she's actually alive or not, but I think she is. Because of that, her life, or her like ribbon, has a bright blue / white light attached to it. It's very like bright, whereas all the spirits, all of theirs are all like dark and like kind of old and kind of what's the word? Decomposed, I would say. And then Cassidy and Lara come across this ghost called the Raven in Red, and she is very powerful. And basically she draws her power by... There's a backstory to the Raven in Red, which is explored a little bit. It's kind of... I enjoyed reading about it, actually. There's a couple of chapters about her. And she lost her child, I believe, in the winter. That I think the child walked off, and she tried to look for him, and she called for him, but she couldn't find him. So what she did was she started taking children and killing them for herself, and she draws her power in the veil from taking the lives out of spirit children and putting them inside her. And every time she does that, she gets stronger and stronger. And at the point we meet the Raven in Red, she is very strong. And it's not actually, it's a little bit of a spoiler. There's a bit of a spoiler warning here. So if you don't want to see spoilers, skip ahead a couple of minutes or 3 minutes. Let's say 3. So, spoiler alert. Okay, so at the point we meet her, she there's a big kind of, well, not fight, but there's a big scene that happens between our main character Cassidy and the Raven in Red in the veil, and the Raven in Red kind of pulls half of Cassidy's life out of her, and so Cassidy is stuck in the veil until she can get the other half of her life back from the Raven in Red. And then a big fight ensues, and that's... I'm not going to say much more than that. I thought this book was bloody brilliant. I really loved the way it was written. Like I said, very eerie and creepy and dark and twisted all the way through. I wasn't bored at any point reading this. I finished it in like... sorry. I finished it in like a day and a half, which for me is brilliant. I just can't wait for the next one, which is called Tunnel of Bones, and it's set in Paris. So what I think they're doing with the series, because it's going to be a series, is because the parents have this TV show, each book / each episode of the show is based on a different country in the world. So obviously this one is based in Edinburgh in Scotland, which is nicknamed the City of Ghosts. And the next one, like I said, is going to be based in France, in Paris. So that's going to be really cool. Yeah, I love this book. I thought it was brilliant. Very well written, very clever, very good take on a ghost story. And it's just brilliant. I loved it. I also loved the relationship between Cassidy and her ghost friend Jacob. I thought that was a brilliantly written friendship, kind of on and off friendship. But yeah, I thought that was brilliant. And I also think The Raven in Red needs her own book about her backstory because that character is so fascinating. And also, Lara Jean Chowdhury, I think that character was brilliantly written. I think she was so funny and so clever, and I loved like the conversations between Lara and Cassidy and the other characters. I thought that was brilliantly written. Yeah, and the whole time I was reading this, I was thinking, Victoria Schwab must really love Scotland. I know that sounds weird. Bear with me. I was thinking she must really love Scotland, and then I was reading the author bio, on the back flap, and I was also reading the acknowledgements, and she actually frequently goes to Scotland and Edinburgh quite a lot, and she even says in the acknowledgements, I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, the first thing she says is, "This book is dedicated to several people and a very old city. The city I've already thanked." So she's basically saying this book is like her love letter to Scotland / Glasgow, Edinburgh, sorry. I thought this was brilliant. The only thing I didn't like, there was one aspect I didn't like, which was because Cassidy is a fan of Harry Potter and they are in Edinburgh and they go to, is it the Elephant Inn? Let me see if I can find what it's called. Okay, I can't find it, but I think it's the Elephant Inn, or the Elephant Book Coffee Shop or whatever, which is where J.K. Rowling wrote the Harry Potter stories. Because of that fact, there is not a lot, but there is quite a bit of mention of Harry Potter, which I didn't mind, but I kind of thought we could do without it. You know, it's supposed to be a love letter to ghost stories, and Edinburgh, not to J.K. Rowling. Not that do you know what I mean? I don't have any problem with J.K. Rowling. I love her, and I love Harry Potter, and I love Fantastic Beasts. But I thought we could have done without it. I would also like to, in the second book, I would also like to see more of Cassidy's cat Grim, because I thought he was hilarious. He's only mentioned a few times, but the times he's mentioned, every situation he's mentioned in, he's just hilarious. And I've also heard news that this may be, I think it's a Netflix show or movie. I think it would work better as a TV show because there's a lot in this, but it's not very long. It's about, well, just under 300 pages. It is, if I can find it, where is it? It's 285 pages, so it's not very long. But yeah, I think it would work much better as a TV show than a movie because there is a lot in this book, and I think to see everything on the screen as I pictured it in my head reading the book would be awesome. Like, I think the way that they could portray Cassidy's almost near death at the beginning and Jacob pulling her out of the frozen lake, I think that would look visually amazing. I also think the way we can see the veil on the screen would look amazing, and I think the Raven in Red would be an amazing character, a really kind of powerful, batshit crazy bitch, basically, that kind of can't be defeated, well, until Cassidy comes along. I think it would all be awesome, and yeah, I can't wait for the second book. I can't wait for the whatever it's going to be, the show, the movie. I can't wait for it, and I love this book, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I would recommend to everyone, whether you love middle grade or not. whether you like Victoria Schwab or not. It's brilliant. Go and read it. Okay, that is it. I'm going to stop rambling now. I just love this book. I thought it was brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to discuss this book with me, you can comment down below and I'll talk with you about it in the comments. And I will see you again very soon. Goodbye.